will call the meeting to order, and if Arnett, you want to run through the
Sure.
roll
Mr. Gussenberg,
here?
Mr. Pangaro,
Here.
Ms. O'Donnell,
Here.
Mr. Jinks. You have a
Here.
quorum, Mr. Jones.
All right.
Oh,
If you
let
would
me share.
stand for our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it
which
stands,
stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice for all.
for all. All right. I was watching all the elections, so that doing the pledge was fit right in today. Approval of minutes of November 9th.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
23rd.
Motion's been made and seconded. Yes, this is for. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, November 23rd. What did I say? The 9th. November 23rd, yes. Motion's been made and seconded. Any comments? Okay, all those in favor?
I'm just going to abstain because I wasn't there.
There you go. Okay. 3 in favor and 1 abstention. All right, updates on our social media. Kate, let me turn it over to you for a bit.
So Facebook continues to grow. We're up to 396 followers now, with 364 likes. So it's probably mostly the same people who are liking and following us on Facebook. We had a big jump in Twitter. Excuse me. We went from 36 followers to 60 followers. So we've been kind of creeping up a few more each week. So we made a nice jump there. I think having the summary of the prior meeting, I think is kind of helping people follow along with a link to the video or to the minutes. I think, that's been garnering interest for people.
The Twitter and the Instagram stuff, now I'm not putting anything on there. Are you taking it off of our Facebook and putting it on there? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, whenever it's something that's visual, I put it on Instagram and Twitter. But if it's more like, this was our meeting update, here's our next meeting, I just put it on Twitter.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we haven't had much that's visual lately.
Yeah.
I don't want to be putting things on there that are in process. So like I watched the options subcommittee the other day, and they spent over an hour, and they were going through an evaluative form to look at each of the options. And I said, well, I could take that and I could put it on, but it's all still in process. And I know it's going to come to the full committee, and I don't want to be getting stuff out there that then changes. And even the options keep changing. They keep adding things and adjusting them, stuff like that. So I don't want to take and throw new options out there only to have them drop off right away. So we'll have to see.
Yeah.
And we continue to, anything that gets posted, well, we try to catch it and repost, and we're getting hits from that as well. So I don't actually have those numbers right now because I just didn't get a chance to look, but I'll take a look and just see how many views we're getting, and you can add that to your numbers as another category.
I spent some time on the webpage the other day. It is 100% better. You can find
Thank you,
things,
Kate.
can find things much easier. Only had two things that came up. One was we were talking at one point about trying to connect some of the videos of the meetings so that you could go to a particular agenda or minutes and click on it and get to the videos. Is that something that's still in process?
Yes, it's something that we definitely have on the list. It's just honestly a matter of getting to it, and we just haven't gotten to it, but it's on the list as a priority. We're a little short-staffed for a month or so in the office, but it's definitely on the list.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot of demand to go back and see some of the old ones. I've been throwing, like on Facebook, our last meeting, I'll put the link on there right away. I know Jim has done that in some cases in the past too.
And they are available on YouTube.
Yeah, they're not always easy to find. You know, if you
Okay, I never go back, yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
if you go in and you do a search and you have the date, but sometimes if you just put in like school modernization, they may be under different names.
right.
You may or may not be able to find it easily. And I know I've really had to go searching a couple of times to find things.
But
we had-
we'll work on getting them on the video, getting the videos on the
Yeah.
Are they on
SMC.
the Town of Cheshire video, YouTube channel, or are they
Yeah,
just
Channel
posted?
14.
Should
Yeah,
we
channel
have our
14.
own- Should we have our own SMC YouTube channel? Would that make it easier for people to find our videos?
I don't know if it's worth it or if it's just a matter of, you know, making sure that we have some links that are laid out. That would be clear. I don't know what it takes to set up. I know I see Jeff Solon is clicked on here. He had told me that, you know, they had to have a certain amount of hits and things before they could set up their own YouTube channel. But how's that work, Jeff?
Yeah, that is my understanding, that once we had enough views and people clicking on what we had previously had, we were able to rename it. I'm not positive. Mike Salamini can probably help us with that when he's, you know, able to chime in on it.
It's once you hit over 100 subscribers, I believe, you can rename the channel so it's searchable. Otherwise, it's just a link.
Okay.
Mike, do you know how many people, or can you tell us how many people have been watching the various SMC meetings and subcommittee meetings? Do you have an idea on that?
Yeah, just give me a second to go through the channel. I got to open up another tab. So
Okay. I'm just curious to know if it's growing or, you know, as a communications subcommittee.
Now I watch them, but and they're truly exciting.
I know you watch it, Rich.
Right now, we have one viewer, and that's Mike.
There you go. And he sort of has to do it.
And
Something-
99 to go.
Something tells me this isn't working very well then.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect, I mean, we don't even
No, this is
overly,
that's number of viewers watching this
Now,
meeting.
not
right
watching
now.
this now, not number of total.
How many
yes.
yeah, this is number of people watching it live.
it looks like the meetings are ranging between 30 and 100 views, with the main meetings getting more views than the subcommittee meetings.
And that's what I would expect. And
Yeah,
so
we
we
need
have-
to have 100 subscribers. So do you know how many we have subscribed, Mike?
I can tell you right now.
137.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, 137.
The last
We-
options subcommittee had 15 views. So the one on the 9th.
yeah,
the
now
options
those-
are-
we haven't advertised those on Facebook or anything. We've only put on the main
Right.
meetings. So, you know, we might be able to kick up those numbers a little bit if we wanted to, but
I mean,
I
the
think
other option is we can create playlists on the channel. So then, you know, you can just click the School Modernization Committee playlist and all the meetings would be there.
oh, that would
Uh-huh.
probably work well. I mean, it's just a matter of being able to find things when you're looking for them. So, you know, we had something the other day. I wanted to put something up about Chapman School when we had gone and done the visitation there. And it took me probably, you know, 10, 15 minutes puttering around and trying different searches and things like that until I finally found it. You know, sometimes if you just put in School Modernization Committee, you may come up with 4 or 5, you know, from a year ago and not see any of the new ones. So if it's possible to set up something like you're talking about, Mike, that might solve the problem. At least people can find it easily.
Okay, yeah, I'll put that on my list of things to do, and I'll try to get a playlist going. And then all you'd have to do is click when you got to the channel. All you'd have to do playlists, and it would be there.
And there would be a list of all of the meetings. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that sounds great. That'll work. The other thing, and I don't know if it'll come up again, but I went looking for the minutes of one of the visitations that we had done. I think it was to Dodd, when we had actually gone to Dodd. But the minutes don't tell where, you know, what was happening. So all you see is, minutes of March 7th, whatever. It doesn't say, that was the visitation to Dodd School so if you want to go back and find any of those things, I wouldn't recommend putting around with it in the future, but I think if there are some unique meetings, like a visitation to a school or something like that, maybe when we do the naming, we can do that. So if somebody goes back and wants to take a look at it, they can find that without having to open up, minute after minute after minute until they finally find the one where it was at Dodd School.
Yeah, we can add a little more detail.
Yeah, and it was mainly those. I mean, some of them are just regular meetings, and I wouldn't even try to do those. But the ones where we went to the different schools, if I want to see a summary of the conversation that took place as we walked through Chapman School or whatever, it'd be nice to just be able to find those minutes without, having to spend a lot of time on it. Okay. Anything else on our technology? What, if anything, can we do to try to push those numbers up some more?
We just have
I think
to
we,
post
sorry.
and cross post. Sorry, Jim.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I think you were sort of talking about earlier, and there is an issue of kind of getting ahead of the process a little bit, but I do think we should put out sort of a weekly, kind of a weekly recap, just a little bullet pointed thing of things that, high points of things that happened in the various meetings for that week, and just kind of it's a way of just keep talking about it, keep people engaged, and keep people trying to find out more information. We do need to get them out there. Or we need to get a little bit of information out there to just kind of spur some more interest and make sure people know what's going on.
That would be easy to do. You had also, Jim, talked the other day about doing some short video things. You want to?
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously video is something that people will consume much more readily than anything they have to read. So at least, digitally. So if we could do just really short, quick, recaps, kind of what I'm saying as far as bullet pointed things, and just to put those up there, people will look at those much more frequently than they would anything they have to read. So so it's a matter of, obviously it's a matter of carving out a little bit of time to do that. But I don't, I think, whether it's myself and one other person, or, if we kind of, round robin it or something, and we, each of us do one here or there, however you guys want to do it. It's just a matter of just kind of, a quick recording of some bullet points and posting it. So
Yeah, a couple of minutes, probably not much more than that.
yeah, I would say no more than a minute and a half, 2 minutes, if we can keep it that short.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the video where I did a quick interview of Rich and we sent it out. Now that's through our email distribution list, and that got like 1,500 views or something.
It was
So,
good. Yeah.
if we can do another update that way, directing people to, we did that like 5-6 weeks ago, Rich?
It was a while back, and it was all very general. It was when we were first getting Facebook up and
Right.
running.
It feels like 1984 we did that.
Well, that's because the year 2020 is going on for years
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So maybe that's another way to, once, if we do one or two of those quick videos, to direct people to Facebook in just like a shorter, more targeted video.
Well, I think particularly you've got that several thousand people that you can get it out to, and so a couple of short, and it did take us long. What was it, about an hour?
Not even.
Yeah, we did some question and answer back and forth, and then Jeff Satin did his magic on his computer and edited it right there and sent it right out. I mean, it was a piece of cake. But it's the sort of thing you could even just do with your phone. And as you say, minute and a half, 2 minutes. Here's some information that we want you to have, and then we just post it right on there.
I think it's important if more of us are doing the videos at the end of each one, we make sure we include information about where people can get more information.
Yes.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can try to drive them to at the very least, the Facebook page, because from there they can get any place else.
I mean, it'd be a little recap of just quick bullet points, and then maybe just, upcoming meeting dates and times, and then, where to find more information, just that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can go ahead and try and do a few and see what you guys think.
Yeah, I think that would be great if we could get a model or two out there. And then maybe we could take turns if we did one a week, so that, we do one a month each. And I think that might be interesting. And they would probably prefer to see some different faces too, not just the same person every time.
For sure.
And I mean, we potentially could even turn to more people, we could get Jen Bates to do one. We could, different people on the committee, even go in before or after one of our meetings and just do a little quick question answer thing with somebody from one of the committees or something like that. A little easier if we weren't all on computers and if we were live, but I think that could work. And Dr. Solon, you are willing to put together another one with us and send it out?
My pleasure.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay.
And
So,
Rich,
yes.
excuse me, I'll send out an email to the Cheshire Herald this week, just reminding them of what this committee is doing and the different avenues that people can get information. Sometimes it gets kind of lost, so I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I haven't seen this week's Herald. I do get an email every week telling me of some of the stories that are coming up. And they did mention the School Modernization Committee. So,
Yeah.
But there wasn't the article there. It just said, there was something about what the committee was working on. So, I had sent them some stuff earlier, didn't get published when I had sent them. But I know every few weeks they have been doing some articles, I think basically from watching some of the videos of the meetings. But yeah, the more we can get in there, it's hard to reach people if we, and I think we got to try to grab any audience that we can. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit anyways. I wanted to speak about doing a letter to the editor campaign. All right, anything else on technology? All righty. The next thing was our brochure and branding thing. I did meet with a couple of students from Cheshire High, gave them a bunch of information, kind of steered them, had a delightful meeting. We spent about an hour. I loved taking some time with some of the high school kids. They're just so eager. They came with a whole list of questions that they had for me about what's going on. And, of course, they had a bit of a bias in that, they expected that we were going to be doing the high school as the first project, but I explained to them some of the thought process and what's going on right now and some of the options that are being looked at. So they're working on that as part of their midterm. And I showed them the brochures out of South Windsor, the video out of South Windsor. I talked to them a little bit about the high school project in Guilford. A little bit about why the committee would be looking at a 6-8 middle school, some of the enrollment information that we had. So I hoped I didn't overwhelm them. I just tried to answer their questions, but we forget sometimes just how much we've gone into over the past year. And there's just so much that I think now we're taking for granted that, as we get out into the community, we're going to have to almost start from scratch in some cases. We start talking about a new elementary school or a 6-8 middle school, we've got to come back to square one. So I don't know what they're going to come out with, but we'll see. Hopefully, they may have some material when they're all done that's stuff that we can use. If not, then, I think we'll have to be prepared to generate our own stuff. We're definitely going to need some handouts. And I think the South Windsor people have a great model, some good high quality brochures that really had a lot of good information. Part of the difficulty is that our committee isn't yet at a point where we can lay out, South Windsor had that 10-year plan all laid out. We don't. We still have multiple options that we're looking at, things like that. But hopefully that'll clear up soon. So, any other comments or on the whole brochure branding piece at this point?
Did you
Is this
talk to them at all about like any kind of motto or logo or anything like that that we could do with hashtags?
I mentioned it to them, but we didn't get into any depth. I talked about the fact that it would, be very helpful as a part of a campaign that we could come up with something. But whether that becomes something that they come up with, or maybe we need to work on that. Again, I think it'd be a little bit easier once we know exactly what we're doing. But we definitely want something that's a little catchy that people can grab onto.
is the brochure, and is that for kind of beginning to lay the groundwork for why we're doing school modernization, or is it more for later on we have an option that we're going to be promoting?
The latter. The brochure was more a matter of once the committee had gotten near a conclusion as to where we would go, it's the sort of thing that we could use to pass out at Stop and Shop and things like that. The other stuff is changing so quickly. I don't know that you could do it in a brochure, but I mean, we could come up with just some small things that we hand out. Although I think it's probably much more efficient to do those on Cheshire Herald, online, things along those lines. But what's your thinking, Jim?
Well, I just was like, you and I talked the other day about this a little bit, but I think that we need to spend some time between now and the options phase, or the final option phase of just making sure that we're educating the public on why we're going through this process of school modernization. I mean, there's, everyone kind of knows the schools are old, but they don't necessarily know how old. They don't know really exactly what the condition of the schools are. I mean, we can tell them, go look at the videos, but most people don't. They don't really understand necessarily, even though, the town's been kind of processing the idea of a middle school, a 6 to 8 middle school. People don't really understand from an education standpoint why that's a good idea, and why it's probably preferred. So they don't really appreciate the way that education has changed to the point that it makes more sense to have a 6 to 8 middle school now.
Yeah.
So there's, and then the demographic change, the demographic piece there that's probably really driving our committee's decision to move toward, the middle school and the elementary school, and doing those first rather than the high school. So there's there's like 4 or 5 kind of key pieces of information that I feel like we need to, it's really the foundation of the narrative that we're going to be putting together, that everyone needs to kind of understand, where the town is at as far as those pieces, as far as the foundation exists. So
Yeah.
it seems like we need to focus on those things as not only the weekly, this is what's going on stuff, but be talking also, in terms of educating people on these 4 or 5, or there may be others, these kind of key pieces of the narrative we're going to be getting out there.
Did people get a chance to take a look at the letter to the editor thing that I sent? Maybe I can put that up. I can share that somewhere here. Oh, no, I didn't have that open yet. I gotta go find that.
Well, while you're opening it, I agree with Jim that it's not just like how we're going to solve the problem, but we have to tell our story about what is the problem, why is it a problem, and really tell them the story from the beginning. Because when people just see the options, they react emotionally, but we really need to educate them about why it's a problem. Why are we trying to solve something? Why do we really need to spend the money on our schools? Like, there are people who may not even understand, why can't we just keep going the way they are? They don't understand what the numbers are, what the conditions are. And I really think we need to, like Jim said, really tell that full story.
Yeah.
Especially because there's, I think there's fresh in a lot of people's minds that the council didn't send it to referendum a couple of years ago. So the perception, I think, by some people is that, well, there must not really be a problem, or we don't really have a continuing, the schools haven't continued to deteriorate or continue to be, the wrong size or not enough space, whatever. There's a
Right.
perception that the problem was solved by not doing it. I think to some extent, we need to kind of start over a little bit.
Well, whether we actually did it as a letter to the editor or we did in some other way, that's one I was thinking along those lines. So, I took just one issue in terms of Cheshire High, but Jim just mentioned, several others, like take a look at enrollment, take a look at 6-8 middle school. Let's take a look at, some of the other issues that have come up. And what I wanted to do was to get out in front of people the fact that Cheshire High, although it's got this nice new front, isn't a new school. That it was built in '53, that there were different additions that are put on it, that we met with the staff, that there were a whole host of issues and problems with the school, and that in comparison to a place like Guilford that has this beautiful new school, here's what we have. So, what I was looking at was to do a letter to the editor from each of us, one a month, so that we would have something going in every single week, taking a different issue, a different problem, figuring that over the months of January, February, we would at least lay some groundwork when the committee comes out with something. And obviously, we could take these, we could put them in a different format and put them onto Facebook, potentially get an article done by the Herald or whatever. But I don't know what. I'd love your feedback on something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I just chime in quick that it's exactly, what we kind of talked about when we first formed this committee, is we're past the point of, is this something we should do or not do? The data and the analytics are telling us that we have to do it, and now we need to portray that to the town. My only addition to this is I think the points that we're getting across need to be shorter, quicker, kind of brief bullet points of, what are the highlights? Just because that, I speak for my generation, that's how we consume everything. I want like 4 or 5 bullet points or a 30-second video, and I can watch it really quick because I have 100 other things going on. But I really like the idea of tackling one topic a month. And I love this letter. I think it's perfect. And, we can address enrollment. We can address the condition of the schools, right? We've had pictures and the tours that we've done, and we can talk about the feedback from the teachers, even the teachers that are very vocal, like Mr. Lopez. They're seeing it every day and live it and breathe it. And I think that hits home. It hit home for me to hear what the teachers had to say about the schools, the conditions, and what they deal with every day.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. We need to really keep it short. People don't scroll. People don't read past the first paragraph. They won't make multiple clicks. So we really need to make sure that we're giving our information. The most important information comes first in little bites and pieces for people.
Yeah, like a frequently asked question format. Why do we start? Quick answer. What do we spend on improvements? Quick answer. What do the teachers say, or something like that? Just kind of a quick question answer.
Other comments? So you would take something like I have here, and you would break that down into either some short bulleted pieces or a question answer format, maybe about half as long as this.
The second paragraph could have just been a bulleted list.
Mhm.
Oh,
I actually had it as a bulleted list initially, but then I wasn't certain that the Herald, in a letter to the editor, will do bullets. I don't think they will. So I ended up taking the bullets out and making it into a paragraph. But if I could find the original, you'll see it was all in bullets at that point. But I think
I don't think they would do bullets either. I mean, this is great for letter format. I think we can also repackage it for Facebook or something else in bullets and shorten it up.
Yeah, and we could do 2 different formats. We could submit it as a letter to the editor. I could take 15 minutes with this and break it down into just some of the key points and put it on Facebook along with a couple of pictures from when we did the visitation there. And we can do just go in and do some video capture from some of those visits and things like that, and at least have that without putting the whole video up. If I set up a schedule so that each of us took 1 week per month and did a topic. Is that something that the group would be interested in?
Yeah, I like the format Jeff just shared with us, even though I'd keep it to 1 page, but that it had that nice, short, quick bite kind of look.
The Q&A, you mean?
The dot FAQ that he just shared in the chat.
Oh, I didn't see it. I didn't have
For some
my
reason,
chat.
for some reason I couldn't open that. I don't know why.
Yeah,
This
the
second
first
thing.
one, I realized the first one, the restrictions were,
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
you had to be
Important.
already shared. Important.
Okay, Dr. Solon.
Right, because that's how I roll.
That's right. I
As
know.
pretentious as I could possibly be.
I couldn't say it with a straight face. I tried.
All right.
Yeah,
I didn't have that open, so I didn't see what Jeff put up.
in the chat. Second.
Oh, okay, there you go. Okay.
And this was
Yeah.
posted. This was posted somewhere, or where was this?
In 2017. So, I mean, I think
Deja vu all over again.
I shared it more or less as a format, not necessarily as verbatim.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was applicable today, but you know, I think today one of the more compelling arguments is the enrollment study. That's a pretty significant pressure to do something. There is really amongst the politicians, at least, unanimous understanding that something has to be done. You know, what it is still being figured out, but I think that's noteworthy as well. To your
I don't
point,
think the
you're
public-
talking about the fact that they, you know, when that proposal was not pushed forward, the idea that nothing had to be done, you know, if you watch that video, it was clear that everybody said something has to be done. We're just not sure that, you know, people were balking at $400 million project, you know, over the course of 20 years or whatever it was. But, you know.
yeah. I mean, when I said that, I mean, I was referring more to the public, thinking that
Yes,
things,
yeah, I know.
that there's sort of like this was it's an old issue. Then, you know, why aren't we bringing it up again, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would be important to suggest that, you know, really to a person that they're suggesting that something has to be done. And I am hopeful that the SMC can, you know, cohesively get behind a project or a plan.
I hope so, sometime soon. All right, so what I will do then is I'm going to lay out a schedule over the next couple of months. We'll each take a week, and in your week, you know, let us know what topic you're going to focus on. You want something that would go in as a letter to the editor? You want something that can go on to our social media as kind of a simple question answer kind of format? And I think, you know, as we know there's certain issues that we want to get out there as early as we can. And it sounds like the enrollment piece is one of the first that we want. And then that leads us to some of the other options. If enrollment there is an issue, then how do you solve that? Solve it through a new elementary school, additions to the elementary schools, move the 6th grade up. And that was one of the first things the high school students said. They said, I don't understand, you know, how building a middle school is going to solve a problem with the elementary. I said, well, you move all the 6 grades out. I said, oh yeah, I see now. So I'm assuming they're very much like the population in general, that we're going to have to lead them through some of this.
And I want to just indicate too that, you know, I agree that one of the first points has to be, why are we doing this now? And what sort of compelling evidence is there to support the move forward? But I want to reiterate too that, or at least offer that I will be more than willing to help. I mean, that stuff that I showed you now from 2017, I have a boatload of stuff like that on a myriad of topics. So if there's something that you feel is a compelling piece to get out, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I can provide a lot of background.
And I can have something on the kindergartens and what doubling the number of kindergarten classrooms did to both Darcy and to the elementary schools. I think that that would be a good piece of information for us
Sure.
too. Sorry, Rich.
No, that's really important because I think one of the questions that comes up quickly and recently is, why are we out of space at the elementary level? Our numbers have gone down over the years, and yet we're saying that we're going to be out of space. Well, going from half day to full day kindergarten, the increase in special ed programs, that has to be out there clearly so that people see that there's a reason. It's not just, gee, teachers, are using up a lot of space that they didn't use in the past or something. So what I would ask is, as you write your piece, is send it to us to take a look at it before it goes out, just to make sure that there's nothing in there that would be incorrect or could get grabbed onto by the wrong people. So as I said, I'll set up a schedule. You can check with Dr. Solon in terms of what ideas and material he has. You don't mind I call you doctor, do you?
You call me whatever you want, Rich.
I know it's become a bit controversial recently.
Yeah, really, huh?
Not for him, but for Jill Biden.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on that one? All right, Jeff, you want to update us on the survey and where we're at there?
Yeah, so just it's real quick because we're kind of waiting on the committee as a whole here with some timelines. As expected, the organization is more than willing to work with us and adjust the timeline. I sent over the information to do the handoff to our net. She'll obviously take it from there. Anything you need from me, Arnett, just reach out.
I think we're good.
Orders, yeah, perfect.
And I'll let you know where the status is once we get everything through the system.
Perfect. And then we'll circle back. I'll be the point person. We need to give them some dates and some times of when we want to really start this process, and still about a 2-week lead time, although he said if we need to ramp that up, we can.
I've talked to Jen, and she's tending to think that she wants to go sooner rather than later. I know there was some discussion at the full committee meeting about pushing it off into March or April or whatever. And she's feeling, she wants to catch it before we actually have finalized all of the options. So I'm thinking we probably will want to start meeting with them pretty soon in January to lay out all the survey questions.
Okay.
And one of the things I was playing with, now they're obviously the experts. But let me, if I can show you just, I think I lost it again. This technology stuff doesn't always work the way I thought it should. There we go. So I was looking, in some ways of trying to lay out questions that sort of give the person some information along with asking the question. I'm a little bit afraid if you just say, well, would you rather build a high school or a middle school? Would you, so, and these obviously, would be something that obviously they're experts and we would want them to work on it. But the concept, Cheshire High School was originally built in 1951 with additions added in 65, 70, and 2000. Would you support a complete renovation of the school if it costs this much? Would you support a new school? Dodd Middle School was originally built, that sort of thing. According to a recent demographic projection, the elementary schools will see a surge in enrollment in the coming years. We'll begin to run out of space in 2025. With this in mind, whatever. So, the point is that within the questions, you're also giving the people the information that they need to make some sort of an educated decision. So, I'm not an expert at this. That's why we're paying them to come in and do it. But, I was just kind of trying to play around with the kind of questions that we might ask that would get us some information about what is the mindset of people, if at least they have that basis of information.
I kind of would like to see the elementary, middle, high school, like I like the wording that you did, but I'd kind of like to see them combined into one question because all the work is important. It's not like yes or no. What I want to see is what's the priority of the town? Like, do they prioritize the elementary project, the middle school project, or the high school project? And maybe there's some way we could combine that into one question where the Likert scale is more of like a prioritization.
And I think maybe what you'd have to do, and again, we'll deal with them. You might almost have to go through this process where you're giving them some information about the high school, the middle school, the elementary school, and then say, okay, now with all that information, what would you prefer to see us start with? But that's why we have them. They're the experts. Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, my only hesitation here, and please chime in here, I know my view might be in the minority, is why are we even mentioning anything to do with the high school? When we kind of know from the analytics and from the committee and from the cost that there's no scenario where the high school should be a priority. And what if we do a survey and the town says the high school should be a priority, but all of our data is telling us that it shouldn't be a priority? Where does our role as a committee kind of, stop and start? I don't want to put a decision in somebody's mouth. I want it to be an open forum to make a decision, but yet that open forum should kind of start with elementary and middle, given the data. Correct me if
Well,
I'm
you
wrong.
could put it in any order you want, but the only thing I would say is, at the moment at least, 2 of our 4 options that are still sitting on the table start with the high school.
Yeah,
The
which
committee
is
hasn't
very
eliminated those. They're still out there. And if we were to get down the line and say we're recommending a middle school or an elementary school, and the vast majority of people are saying, I want to start with a high school, it might be good to know that up front.
I think it's good to know because it helps us know what information we're not communicating well. Like if everybody said we need a high school, then we're like, okay, they're not getting the enrollment piece. Let's just start to push that and do a lot of, like, I think it's going to help us understand
Good
what
point.
the town is thinking and what their opinions are. So even if it doesn't match what we know the data is, I think it's going to give us information to help us communicate better.
Yeah, good point. I agree.
And I think we have to see too how quickly the full committee moves. If this thing is being rolled out in probably early February, if they're down to just 2 options at that point, then maybe we pull any questions regarding the high school. If, however, the high school is still one of the options that's being looked at, then it wouldn't hurt us to gather some information on it. So,
Yeah.
I'm still struggling a little bit with the timing of this when to me, the survey, needs to inform the options rather than the options informing the survey. We need to get a sense of what the public is, we need to educate the public to a certain extent and then ask them these questions and then go forward with a plan. To me, that's sort of what the process should be. To me, it
Agreed.
feels like we're trying to educate and come up with a plan before we get a sense of what the public is really thinking. And obviously the big challenge is really getting how do you get a true picture of what the public is thinking at this point, so quickly. And that's the hard thing. So I think Jeff is right about, we're kind of putting answers in people's mouths to some degree. We might be, but hopefully we can work that out with the survey company and it'll be we won't be doing that, but we're certainly, if we go out too soon, we do risk the chance of just this being sort of everyone's opinion rather than it being backed up by any kind of facts of where the things where they stand right now.
Yeah, well, that's why I want to talk to them about building some of the facts into the survey itself.
Yeah, I'm trying to, also be cognizant of not having, a survey that addresses 25 different options.
Right.
Really get good data. We get it spread over too many variables. But again, from my conversations with the survey company, it was very clear that this is what they do. They survey towns for schools
Right.
every day. This is what they know. So I'm sure these are not our only concerns that other towns haven't faced. And I would be shocked if we didn't get some very good advice from them.
Yeah, they'll lead us through the process. And I went through their proposal that they had, and I went online and checked out a couple of the school districts that they had worked with, some
Yeah.
things like that. And clearly, I understand where Jim's coming from. We're kind of on a moving train here.
Yeah.
In some ways, if we had another year, or in some ways, if we were talking about this last September, it would be a different situation. But we're in a process where we're saying, okay, we need to gather some information for something that's going to be pretty structured and decided by sometime in probably March. And then it's a matter of, rolling out the option and selling that. So, we have like a 2-month window of still lots of discussion about what should we do and how should we do it. And then a several month window of making sure we get lots of information out to the public. And that's been the conversation that's gone on with the full committee. How do we want to use the survey? Jen, at least, in her conversation, really felt she wanted to get some feedback as to what the community would support and how they would support it. So that puts us in that 2-month window, January, February, to get back to the committee by saying, here's, as you're finalizing, your options, here's what the town is saying.
So Jeff, are you working with, when you're doing the questions, could you work with like Jen or Chuck and maybe somebody from the options committee? Because they also had a stake in what those questions were. So it's not just our committee, but maybe like a little subcommittee of our subcommittees, or even a separate one to kind of work through what the question should be.
Of course. And I think before anything gets sent out, we should bring it up to the full committee.
Yeah, I see our full committee, and I think it makes sense to invite some members, well, Jeff, Jen, Chuck, and probably 1 or 2 people from the options committee too. The more the merrier in terms of laying it out. You're getting the ideas. And then I agree with Jeff. I think before it goes out, it probably should go to the full committee, at least in its semi-final format. I don't want to wordsmith with a group of 15 people, but at least to give them a chance to take a look at it, and if they have anything that they strongly have an issue with, find that out up front.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think our small group can kind of work through the process, get things narrowed down, and then take the abbreviated.
I'm sure the survey research company, they have a way of structuring questions and a way of sequencing them, and that's going to be a big part of this, and we'll probably just be sort of plugging in our kind of unique Cheshire information, into what they've probably already have pretty much structured based on all the experience they have, but we'll see.
Yeah, he was very prepared of our demographics already and breakdown of where to ask the questions, of what sections of town. The one thing is that, we are going to have the online option. So the more we can do to build our footprint, our followers, to share these links, the better. I'm part of a bunch of groups in town. I know a bunch of us are, and, we can try to share the links on those pages too, even if they're not following our pages. But I love data, so I would love to get as much input as we can, more than the couple hundred phone surveys.
Yeah.
And to Don Walsh's point about the businesses, we should probably reach out to the chamber to see if they'll get that in their next newsletter once we have the survey link, so that we can
Sure
get
that
some of that information from them too.
Yeah. So Yetta will definitely do it for us.
So the next meeting of the full committee is January 4th, which is a Monday. Is it, do you think it would be worthwhile for us to get together, let's say like January 6th, with the survey people and begin to at least lay out some groundwork?
Yeah, well, depending on what the travel restrictions are in Vermont, I will be out for the first week of January, but I can do a Zoom or something for sure.
Do they want to meet personally or they want to do it on Zoom?
I'm assuming Zoom is fine,
Okay,
but I'll verify that.
all right. So you'd still be able to do it.
Yeah, if we do it at night, it's fine. I can.
Yeah. All right. So Jeff, can you contact them and see if a meeting on the evening of January 6th would work? And
What night is that, Rich? What day
that
is
would
it?
be a Wednesday. Well, we don't have to do it that day if that's an issue.
I think Wednesday would be fine.
I'll just take a quick look at my own calendar while we're doing this. And so the 6th works out fine for me if that works. I could go to the 7th. There is a UConn women's game that night, but that's okay. I'll set priorities. So if we can see, Jeff, if you can check with them, see if a Zoom meeting, 6:30 or 7 o'clock on the 6th of January would work. And once you verify, we'll get that put together, but we'll also invite some others into that meeting, and that'll be our laying out the groundwork, talking a little bit about what the questions should look like, what information's there, and what they need from us to begin to generate this thing.
Yep, I just emailed him, so I'll get back to you.
Okay, great. Anything else on the survey?
Okay, are you almost done? Because I have to go into another meeting, Rich, for planning and zoning.
Okay, we're almost done, but thank you very much, Marilyn.
Okay, so it's just one item left, and I'm sure I can get it from Arnett, okay?
Yep.
All right, thank you, everybody. Good night.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thanks a lot.
Bye.
Yeah, actually, the one item that I had, next area of focus on the communication plan, that was the whole letter to the editor piece, which we've already talked about.
Yep.
And then the only other thing, and Jeff had mentioned it, but we had talked about starting to get out to different groups and doing presentations to them. What I want to do is to begin to put together a short slideshow so that we could then go to the Chamber of Commerce, go to the Booster Club or whatever, and do a 15-minute presentation of, here's where we're at, here's the key information that you need to know. And it'll evolve as we go along. But I thought if I can begin to work on that, and if you have some ideas and suggestions for it, let me know. And then, any one of us can do those presentations with different groups that we're involved with. And if you have other groups that might be interested, I would think it, each of the PTOs from the different schools, a short, are they doing online meetings, Jeff Solon?
Yeah. They are. I'm booked through the month of January to attend those. I was actually just looking at my calendar. I sent that request out last week. So most I've already been booked into.
So is one of the things you'd be doing there, Jeff, is covering the sort of SMC stuff? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. So if we do pull, you've got all the information already, but if we do pull together a little slide program or something, that's something you could use with all of those groups.
Sure.
So, basically at this point, we just want to get out as much as we possibly can.
Right. Yeah. COVID, school modernization, and budget will be the highlights.
And then the last thing that I had, thank you to Jim Jinks, we were able to contact Jody Bemis, who was the vice chair of the PAC that was created in 2017. I had met with Jeff Solon when we first started up our communication committee. He had given us a lot of information that had been generated back then on the creation of the PAC and some of the people that were involved, or brainstorm lists of potential people who could be. Since Jody was the vice chair, Jim contacted her. She enthusiastically agreed that she would like to head up this group. Jim and I had a meeting with her the other day, sat down with her for, I don't know, about an hour or so, went through a lot of the material and options and things like that. And she is excited and gearing up. And so we're hopeful that, again, during that same, December, January time block, she can get that group with a core group of people, begin to pull them together, lay out some plans. I told her, although we wouldn't be a formal part of her group, we would like to support and help the group any way that we can. So that's a real positive, I think.
Yeah, Jody's fantastic. That's great.
Jim, any more do you want to fill in there?
Not really. I'm not sure if you actually said it on the top there, but this is the PAC. So this is the group that'll organize to promote whatever kind of whatever option is finally decided on. And they'll be the group to get the word out and get people organized around the referendum. So
yeah, and their major focus is really in that 60-day period leading up to the referendum, when the town really cannot get out there and campaign for it. And they would put together information for handouts. They might do letters to the editor. They might do lawn signs around town. Many of the things that the South Windsor people talked about, but to have a presence of people who would be educating the public as to why this is a wise use of their funds. So getting this group up and running, and Jeff Solon, as you talk to the different PTOs, if you've got people from each of those schools that are interested, and have them contact Jody. I think, that's always a real strong group, particularly when you get some of those parent groups that are there and they're dealing very specifically with something that hopefully is going to benefit their children.
Certainly.
Yep. Other
if anybody watching and wants to contact Jody, how do you want them to have them contact you, Rich, or me? I don't want to give out Jody's information.
Right. Well, they can contact one of us, or we have, the email for, what is our
comments at CheshireCT.org, right?
Right.
So if anyone wants to be a part of the group with Jody, organizing to support the school referendum, then contact comments at CheshireCT.org.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to go about it. And then, Arnett can forward it to us, or Arnett can, well, probably forward it to me, and then I'll get it to Jody.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, she did give me her email and her phone number, but I don't know that she wants that broadcast.
Pretty sure she doesn't.
Well, some of us don't have the choice, but all right. Any other issues, questions, comments?
How do you untweet something?
Whoops. Are you in trouble? Yeah, there's
funny. They don't let you do that, Jeff.
I have, in a couple of instances in my life, sent out an email and then said, "Oh my God, that went to the wrong person," or whatever. And it's hard to pull those back.
Yep.
That's technology. All right, so I will put together a schedule on the letter to the editor thing. Jeff is going to contact to get our survey thing going on the 6th. The PAC is beginning to get up and running. We've got the kids from the high school working, continue to put some stuff on Facebook. And we'll take a look at doing some weekly little summary pieces or maybe some little videos. And if you come up with any of those, feel free, if you write a little bulleted piece and you just want to shoot it over to me and say, how about, putting this one up? Do all the committee members, Kate, have access to our Facebook page to post?
I don't think I added Jim yet.
Okay. So that everyone can post on it themselves.
Maybe I'll get an invitation to be an admin for the page.
Yeah. And then some short videos. I just want, be careful. Obviously, anything that we put up there, we want to make sure that it, is factually oriented and non-controversial. So anything that you have any concern or question on, shoot it to me first and let me take a look. And then I can always post it. Okay. All right, sound good? If there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. Have a nice holiday.
Good night,
Oh,
everybody.
you too. Good night.